Welcome to Chasing Curiosity TV. Subscribe and press the bell icon for more updates. Tonight, we delve into a tense maritime standoff, a confrontation that has captured the world's attention and raised the stakes in the South China Sea. The waters here are not just a backdrop for routine patrols, they are a flashpoint where national pride and international law collide under the watchful eyes of the world. A Filipino supply ship, tasked with a critical resupply mission to the BRP Sierra Madre, braved unpredictable seas and mounting tension. The crew knew the risks, but their mission was vital: to maintain a presence on the rusting, grounded ship that stands as a symbol of Philippine resolve. Suddenly, Chinese Coast Guard vessels appeared on the horizon, larger, more heavily armed, and unmistakably aggressive. Their imposing silhouettes signaled not just a routine patrol, but a deliberate challenge to the Filipino mission. The Chinese ships closed in, blaring horns and unleashing powerful water cannons. The force of the blasts injured Filipino crew members and left the deck slick and dangerous. It was a clear message: turn back or face the consequences. This was not an isolated incident, but a calculated show of force in a region where every maneuver is scrutinized. The contested waters of the South China Sea have become a chessboard for military posturing and strategic brinkmanship. Such encounters are alarmingly frequent, with each new standoff adding to a growing sense of unease. The pattern is clear: assertive patrols, aggressive tactics, and a willingness to escalate. Videos from across the region capture these dramatic moments. Chinese ships shadowing Vietnamese boats, Malaysian vessels being warned away, and tense close encounters that could spiral out of control at any moment. Each confrontation is more than a test of nerves, it's a message of control, a signal to rivals and allies alike that the rules of the sea are being rewritten in real time. For the sailors on these ships, the tension is palpable. Every watch is filled with nervous anticipation. Every maneuver could be the one that triggers a major incident. The question is not if, but when a miscalculation will lead to disaster. These sailors are on the front lines of a geopolitical struggle, carrying the weight of their nation's hopes and fears. Their courage and restraint are tested daily as they face down larger, more powerful adversaries. Second Thomas Shoal itself is little more than a tiny speck in the vast South China Sea, but its significance is immense. The grounded BRP Sierra Madre, battered by waves and time, is a lonely outpost at the heart of a global contest. For the Philippines, this reef is a symbol of sovereignty and national pride. For China, it is an obstacle to their sweeping territorial claims, a challenge to their vision of regional dominance. The sailors here navigate not just treacherous waves, but the swirling currents of nationalism, history, and power politics. Every decision they make is fraught with consequence, every day a test of endurance and resolve. This is more than a maritime dispute, it is a test of international law, a challenge to the rules-based order, and a measure of the strength of alliances in the face of growing pressure. The United States, a treaty ally of the Philippines, watches these developments with growing concern. American warships patrol nearby, and military planners weigh the risks of intervention. A mutual defense treaty means that a single clash could draw in superpowers, transforming a regional squabble into a confrontation with global consequences. Each aggressive act, each close call, raises the stakes higher. Around the world, governments and citizens alike watch anxiously, aware that the next incident could ignite a much larger conflict. The world holds its breath. Will this be the spark that ignites a wider war, or can diplomacy prevail before the collision course becomes a catastrophe? Why does the South China Sea matter? To understand, just follow the journey of the goods that fill our daily lives. This region is more than just a body of water, it's the planet's most critical commercial waterway, a true maritime superhighway that never sleeps. Every year, 1/3 of all global shipping, over $5 trillion in trade, flows through these crowded lanes, making it the beating heart of international commerce. The sneakers you wear, the phone in your pocket, even the car you drive, chances are they all traveled through these waters before reaching you. The South China Sea acts as a vital bridge connecting the factories of Asia to markets across the globe, fueling economies and livelihoods far beyond its shores. For countries like Japan and South Korea, these sea lanes are lifelines, delivering the oil and gas that power their industries and keep their cities running. For China, the stakes are even higher. This is not just a trade route, it's a crucial entry point for resources and a gateway for exports that drive its economic engine. Any disruption here, whether from conflict, piracy, or natural disaster, would send shock waves through the global supply chain. halting the flow of goods and resources. The impact would be immediate and severe. Prices would skyrocket, store shelves could empty, and entire economies might grind to a halt. That's why the region's strategic importance is immense. Control over these waters means influence over the world's economic pulse. Whoever controls these lanes holds a powerful lever over global trade, able to shape the fortunes of nations and industries alike. To keep these arteries open, navies from around the world patrol the waters, ensuring that trade can flow freely and safely. The U.S. Navy, in particular, maintains a strong presence, challenging any attempts by regional powers to dominate or restrict access to this vital corridor. But it's not just about trade. These waters are also essential for military mobility, allowing rapid deployment and strategic positioning in times of crisis. The South China Sea has become a stage for military posturing, with submarines lurking below and warships shadowing each other in a constant game of cat and mouse. In this high-stakes geopolitical chess game, every move is watched, every decision carries weight, and the outcome could shape the future of global power. To grasp today's conflicts, look back centuries. The South China Sea was once a cradle of commerce and culture. The Srivijaya Empire thrived by controlling trade routes. China's Ming dynasty sent Admiral Zheng He on grand voyages, showcasing power. These were not conquests, but displays of wealth and influence. Other regional powers, like Champa and Brunei, had rich maritime histories. Competing historical narratives fuel today's claims. European colonial powers imposed rigid borders, altering regional dynamics. This legacy created modern nation-states and sowed seeds of conflict. The colonial past shapes today's territorial disputes. Beneath the waves lies immense natural wealth. The South China Sea is a treasure chest of resources. Vast reserves of oil and natural gas fuel national ambitions. Securing access is a matter of national security. This has turned the sea into a geopolitical flashpoint. Fishing is vital for millions, but overfishing devastates stocks. Local fishermen compete with large fleets, creating a desperate struggle. Environmental destruction from island building is catastrophic. Coral reefs, vital for marine life, are being destroyed. The race for resources sacrifices biodiversity and fish stocks. It's a tragedy of the commons on an epic scale. At the core of the dispute is a map. China's 9-dash line claims nearly 90% of the South China Sea. This sweeping claim clashes with maritime neighbors. Vietnam, the Philippines, Malaysia, and others assert their own rights. The result is a chaotic patchwork of overlapping claims. The 9-dash line's ambiguity creates constant anxiety. It allows China to push claims or pull back as needed. For neighbors, it's a source of instability and uncertainty. The world watches as tensions simmer over these contested waters. Modern borders in Southeast Asia stem from colonial times. European powers imposed fixed borders, altering regional dynamics. Colonial maps now serve as evidence in today's disputes. Before colonialism, sovereignty was fluid, based on loyalty and tribute. The sea was a shared space for trade and travel. Post-colonial nations inherited these borders and disputes. China's 9-dash line challenges this colonial legacy. It clashes with post-colonial states defending their sovereignty. The conflict is a struggle between historical influence and modern law. In an ideal world, international disputes, no matter how complex or contentious, would be resolved within the walls of a courtroom, guided by impartial judges and the rule of law. Justice would be blind to power, and every nation, big or small, would have its voice heard and respected. The United Nations Convention on the Law of the Sea, or UNCLOS, was created to provide just such a legal framework. It sets out the rights and responsibilities of nations in their use of the world's oceans, aiming to ensure peace, cooperation, and order on the high seas. UNCLOS clearly defines territorial waters, granting countries sovereignty up to 12 nautical miles from their coastlines, and establishes exclusive economic zones, or EEZs, extending 200 nautical miles, where states have special rights to resources. In 2013, the Philippines, facing growing pressure in the South China Sea, turned to the Permanent Court of Arbitration in The Hague, seeking a peaceful legal resolution to its dispute with China. After years of deliberation, in 2016, the court delivered a landmark ruling in favor of the Philippines, affirming its maritime rights and rejecting China's sweeping claims. The tribunal found that China's so-called 9-dash line, which encompasses nearly the entire South China Sea, had no legal basis under international law. Yet despite the clear verdict, China dismissed the ruling outright, continuing its assertive patrols and construction activities, demonstrating that power on the water can override decisions made in courtrooms. The reality is, international courts lack the power to enforce their decisions. Without the means to compel compliance, the rule of law often finds itself at odds with the rule of force. For Filipino fishermen, the legal victory brought little change. They still face harassment and danger in waters that, by law, should be theirs, highlighting the gap between legal principles and real-world outcomes. China's ongoing military exercises and growing naval presence in the South China Sea underscore the stark clash between international law and military might, raising questions about the effectiveness of legal frameworks in the face of raw power. Meanwhile, smaller states in the region continue to seek justice and security through diplomacy, alliances, and appeals to international law, hoping that collective action can balance the scales. This ongoing conflict highlights the deep tension between carefully crafted legal frameworks and the realities of power politics, where might often makes right. The South China Sea remains a volatile battleground, with overlapping claims, military maneuvers, and diplomatic standoffs shaping the daily reality for millions in the region. Around the globe, governments, analysts, and ordinary citizens watch closely, aware that the outcome of this struggle will test the strength and relevance of the international rule of law. Ultimately, how this conflict is resolved will not only determine the fate of the South China Sea, but also shape the future of international relations and the balance between law and power for generations to come. China changed the game with island building in the Spratlys. Dredgers transformed reefs into military bases with airstrips. These islands project China's military power across the sea. The U.S. responds with freedom of navigation operations, FONOPs. U.S. warships challenge excessive maritime claims, asserting international rights. Tense encounters occur as Chinese and U.S. navies shadow each other. Radio exchanges highlight the standoff over territorial waters. These maneuvers are risky, with potential for miscalculation. A single incident could escalate into a crisis between nuclear powers. The stakes are high as both sides test each other's resolve. The South China Sea remains a flashpoint for military posturing. The world watches as tensions simmer in this strategic region. While military tensions rise, diplomacy continues. ASEAN struggles to manage the dispute, hindered by consensus rules. Negotiations for a code of conduct with China are slow. Bilateral talks aim to de-escalate tensions and find cooperation. Southeast Asian nations balance economic ties with China and sovereignty. The South China Sea is a test case for global order. Will disputes be resolved by law or power? The conflict reflects the US-China rivalry for global influence. The outcome will impact global peace and security. The world watches as the future of international norms is at stake.